Hello, my wonderful brothers for brothers of the Maverick Nation, and I know that any of you that are frequent viewers of my content, frequent enough to basically any of you that have known about the fact that I took away that Naruto series, if what if Naruto was Chaos's embodiment? Don't worry, there is salvation. A Boruto series. And before you guys shake your heads and says doom from the start, I'm gonna change some things up. Like from beyond belief, change some things up about the story. Beyond the fact of symbiotes being there to begin with, there is going to be some serious freaking changes. I mean, just uh, yeah, and trust me, my friends, it is going to be dark AF. And yeah, that is a warning for any of you that are squeamish, and any of you who don't think. Basically, any of you that are squeamish, any of you that have depression like me, any of you that don't really think that you can take heavy, like, commentary or just, like, heavy topics being talked about, any of you that aren't really all that good on like heavy subjects being given the spotlight, like can't really take heavy stuff, leave now to save your in order to save your soul. I'm just gonna say it right now. Leave now in order to save your soul. Because it's gonna get crazy in here. Already from the beginning, there's gonna be some crazy. This is going to be, what if Boruto, instead of Naruto, got Toxin, got the Toxin symbiote. Yes, Toxin. The latest, unless like Anti-Venom was after Toxin, like Anti-Venom and Toxin are supposed to be like the latest. And I'm not really the biggest fan of the Anti-Venom design, like the a lot of black, but then there's white. Like, I don't get it. And then there's just a little bit of red. Like try to make up your minds, people designing these characters. Try to make up your damn minds on what you want this to be. No, Toxin for me is a lot easier to, digest as like something to look at. Because Toxic, even though being a little bit more basic looking than, something like Anti-Venom, basically. Woohoo! Toxin is still from Carnage, and Carnage is my boy. So, you can imagine I'm gonna put some shit in here that's gonna be crazy. However, not all of it is going to be directly influenced by Boruto and Toxin's relationship. There are going to be different influences that kind of drive the story forward. And so basically, this is, what if Boruto had the Toxin symbiote? So this is basically like Boruto events, but like I said, I'm going to change a hell of a lot of things. So there might only be like certain amounts of the story that you guys can remember that actually happened. Because I am going to change a hell of a lot of stuff around. in order for, this to be a series that the both of us can get through. You, the audience, and me, the person telling the story. Because I haven't watched Boruto a lot. Like I've seen snippets, I think. I know a little bit about it. I mainly know about the movie, Naruto Boruto the movie. I mainly know about that, not the actual anime of Boruto. I'm not an avid watcher of that anime at all. At all, at all. Blah. I don't say blah blah blah. However, I do know enough, just barely enough, about Boruto and the world of Boruto and everything Boruto as a character to make a story around this. Plus, I know enough about the symbiotes to make a story around, this whole entire thing. Because, you're mixing the two elements, you have to know enough about both. And I think I do. Or at least I could make some alterations to where it would seem more like I'm at home whenever I'm talking about this. And so, enough with my, shit-eating grin ass. Enough with that. Now, actually, over to the freaking thing that we're supposed to be talking about. Basically, over the years, ever since the last, because I know the last was the thing because Toneri. I know about him. I know about the Tensegon. I know about crazy Genjutsu thing that they were apparently trapped in. Yeah, and I know that, it being the last, mm, kind of marked the end there for a while, I guess. You see, I don't know these things. That's why I have to change so much. So, basically, after the events of the last, where, Toneri was defeated and all that shit, and Naruto was eventually named the freaking Hokage. Finally, after all of that, basically, there is indeed something afoot. Not too long after Naruto's inauguration into becoming the Hokage, business is already a thing. A business deal. With people that seem to come from a village that isn't very well known of. They say they're mostly made up of members of the Akira clan. So yes, most of the people that are part of the village, as of now, part of their village, are members of people called the Akira clan. And, basically, yeah, most of the members of the village are people that are part of the Akira clan. And the people that are part of the Akira clan's whole thing is that they wanted to make a whole company, a whole foundation that would improve life for everyone. Because Naruto's whole thing was, to create peace, and whenever Pain and during the whole fight asks them how would he hope to do that, and he really didn't have a good answer for him. Basically, Naruto's thing is, he wants to fulfill his Master Jiraiya's dream of a peaceful world, and the Akira clan, they seem to want to do that through this big foundation called the Life X Foundation. At least that's what they plan to name it. It's Life X Foundation. And, well, they say they need help from Naruto and his village for, like, funding and different shit in order to deal with their entire foundation thing that they're going to run. In order to try to help everybody. And, well, they would also like links with the Leaf Village, like be able to have some Life X buildings within the Hidden Leaf, and any allied villages, like any villages that are allied with the Leaf. Like the allied villages can decline, of course they can, like they're not going to force them to, so, like, if only the Leaf Village wanted to do this, like, that'd be okay. I mean, the Leaf Village is as strong as it is already. Like, it would be enough. Just saying, like, if they could. Like, if they were given the permission from the villages. And turns out none of the allies of the Leaf Village want in on this Life X Foundation plan. But Naruto is trusting enough that these, people of the Akira clan will do good enough by their word to, actually do what they say they're going to do. And Naruto actually does ask the name of their village. They say they're from a village, basically they say they're from the land of Ash. And that their village is... They say they're from the Hidden Rock. Yes, they're from the Hidden Rock, and the Hidden Rock just so happens to be smack dab in the middle of the land of Ash. And Naruto does check the maps and everything, and it does indeed turn out that there is a village hidden in the rock, and it is a part of the land of Ash, and the land of Ash does indeed exist. And the Akira clan also turns out they, existed. Most of the records say that they died out a long time ago, and they say that the Akira clan themselves said that that's mostly true, but that was the old Akira clan. They weren't so peaceful as the new one. The new Akira clan wants to scrub themselves clean of the acts of their old selves. That's another thing, they want to do better, basically. And the Akira clan are like, yeah, we're from the Stone Village in the land of Ash, and I guess you could call them the Limestone Village, if there's already a village of stone. So I guess the Limestone Village, the village of the limestone, if you wanted to go that far. And so yeah, they basically say that they want to use everything in their power to make this dream happen. And Naruto's all for bringing peace, so he's like, I know, Gaara, I know it may seem fishy at first, but I think I can at least trust them a little. And Gaara's like, well, I at least hope your decision doesn't go back to bite you in the ass in the end. And that's whenever, a message is given from someone's like, Lord Seventh, Lord Seventh, oh my god, oh god, out of breath, oh god. Turns out this messenger was part of the Akamichi clan, and that's Choji's clan, by the way. Yeah, they tend to be like that. And he's basically like, a message from the hidden limestone village. And he's like, actually, it's more or less from the entire land of Ash itself, but mainly them. And, Gar's like, if you're so tired, then just give yourself a seat already. There's already seats here. And the person's just like, yeah, I'll get to that. And Gar's like, so, what does it say? And Naruto's basically like, in order to persuade the villages that are allied with the Leaf Village, if they can, if they do still have a chance at persuasion, they would like to give them a tour of several of the different areas are already being made in the foundation. This Life X Foundation. And Gar is just like, so they want to persuade us to be all nice with them by giving us an inside tour. It's just like, they think that's going to change anything. Well, at least if this will shut them up for now, then we'll agree to their terms. And so, at least, the Land of Wind agreed to the terms of the whole tour. At least the Land of Wind is, a little lenient. However, the Land of Lightning, they aren't so friendly. Because, the Land of Lightning, you know how they are. I mean, if friends with the Leaf or not, this is still a pretty big thing to just come out of nowhere. This hidden limestone village, this Land of Ash, this whole Life X Foundation, and they're wanting to branch out. And they say that this is for the better of mankind or whatever. Actually, it turns out Killer B is pretty much, good for the idea, but not his brother. The Raikage. Actually, Dari was supposed to be the Raikage. Dari, the new Raikage, wants to follow A's example, so he decides that he's not going to be so easily convinced. And then Gar is just like, it's not that me or any of the fellow members of my village are convinced or anything. We're just wanting to, humor them. See if they actually mean what they say. And, that actually catches Darwie's attention. He's like, okay, fine. But for that reason alone, for those reasons alone, we'll just go to humor them. And so, eventually, the Land of Lightning does end up signing up. So, not only the Leaf, but the Wind and the Lightning are representatives from all of those villages are going to show up. Which technically only the Sand and the Lightning have to show up because they're starting the entire thing at middle ground in the Leaf Village. And Naruto's pretty much given them free reign to do this. Because, well, they seem nice enough. Like, so give them free ground to start within the village that you're, most trust with. I mean, come on. If you trust somebody enough, you gotta give them some leeway to show that you actually do trust them. And so, yeah. The first ever actual research building and everything is actually going to be unveiled soon. And I'm gonna say that. How old is Himari? Isn't she like 3 or something? So I'm gonna say she's like just now, like not even 1. But, Hinata would just be like, well, what am I supposed to do while you're gone? Geez, Naruto, you always, worry me. And Naruto's like, well, watch over Himari while I'm gone. And everything. And Hinata's like, you said that like Boruto's going to go with you. And Boruto's like, Dad, please. And Naruto's like, okay, fine. So Boruto, who currently, right now, I'm going to have in the timeline be 8 years old. I'm going to have him be 8. Whenever the first introduction happens. And, Boruto is just going to be going with his, like, regular class. And Shikadai seems to be a part of his regular class. And so he's just talking it up with Shikadai. And so him and Shikadai are just having the time of their lives. Like, Shikadai really doesn't seem to give a shit. And Boruto was just like, wow, this place is so cool looking. Even better looking from the inside. Shikadai doesn't even have to admit that it does look kind of cool. And, Tamari didn't trust it, so Shikamaru kind of had to be the one to bring Shikadai there. And, well, Angara would just be like, well, so far they haven't tried to kill us yet. And Dara was like, don't joke about that. And Naruto's just like, yeah, these guys are actually really nice. And Daria's like, I didn't mean in that way. And Gar's like, well, if you have a And then all of a sudden, hello everyone, welcome everyone to the Life X Foundation's first ever center of research. First ever research center. Basically, the Life X Foundation's first ever research center that has branched out beyond our actual village. The first ever one being straight smack dab in the middle here of Konoha. And Naruto is just like, yep. He's just like, mildly impressed. And Boruto is just like, wow factor beyond belief. Because of all the crazy shit that they already have. And, there's a whole bunch of different hallways that go to a whole bunch of different rooms for, like, different things and all. And Shikadai and Boruto are being led by an assistant lady over towards a certain room, like a biological studies room. And Shikadai's like, why would we be led over to the biological studies room? And then Boruto was like, correction, Shikadai. Biological Studies 1 room. Yes, it would actually say Biological Studies 1. because there's more than one biological studies room. And Shikadai would be like, well then, Boruto, where's the other biological studies rooms? We only seem to be led towards the one so far, and it seems like a maze. And then Boruto seems to see like a secret door, and he's like, maybe this will lead us towards something. How about you cause a distraction, and then maybe she'll have to go somewhere else. And Shikadai would be like, why do I always have to do this? And he does indeed create like a distraction by like messing with some stuff with like his shadow jutsu. And he does this like so quick and slyly, like no one would really know it was him unless they knew about the shadow possession jutsu and the Nara clan in general. And so, while the lady is, just trying to fix that whole calamity up, basically Boruto's like, come on, come on, come on. Okay, so, wait, it does seem to lead to another biological studies room. But this room seems like it's purposely non-finished. Biological Studies 2.0. 2.010. What does that mean? And Shikadai could be like, maybe that's part of the reason why it looks so run down. Could have something to do with the specific numbering. Man, we could get in real bad trouble for this, Boruto. You do know that. And Boruto's like, and we could also have some real fun while we're down here. As long as we're able to keep that lady distracted for long enough so that she's more, focused on other things than us, we should be just fine. Shikadai is just like, I'll do my best, but I at least want to get something in on this as well. You're not going to have all the fun. I mean, if I'm coming down here, I'm coming down here for something other than just cover your back. And Boruto's like, sheesh, Shikadai. Like, you're the grumpy pants today. All this, it seems to be unfinished stuff, or like boxed in stuff. All this stuff seems like more stuff that we're not supposed to touch. Looks like somebody saw what was going on in this room, boxed it all up and abandoned it. Almost like they were afraid. Wait, there seems to be some sort of... Wait, no. There's a special biological exhibit within this really big one that we're already in. A single thing, though. It only has one thing. However, it does seem very secure, so I might need your help. So Shikadai would go and try to help Boruto open the security, but that's whenever Shikadai would realize, alarm, see? And Boruto would see, rusted, see? And then Shikadai would be like, oh, yeah, right. All this stuff looks like it hasn't been touched in ages. And they said they were building this place. So was this one of the first rooms that they were working for? Like, working towards? Then something really bad must have happened here in order for it to be shut down like this. So, ding, just like it finally opens with like a big ding sound, and Boruto's like, yes, finally. And that's whenever they would hear the voice, and Shikai would freak out, accidentally knocking Boruto into a glass container, which was the single thing that was in there. And he would just get knocked into it. And Shikai would be like, shit, Boruto, are you alright? Oh god, no, he's unconscious. Shit. And so, yeah, they were actually be getting in trouble for several things that day. However, like one of the automatic things that would need to be checked up on is if Boruto was, okay. Because, like, that was hard glass that he got freaking elbow checked into. And also with the back of Shikadai's head. So it just sent him flying in there, smashing against it, and onto the floor, like, harshly onto the floor. So, yeah. They would indeed, go into the, intensive care for, like, maximum to make sure that, basically, it would just be like, Naruto would just be hoping and praying that, to whatever god they worship, that Boruto turned out okay. That there was no major head trauma that would affect him for the rest of his life. And eventually whenever he got into contact with Hinata about this, she freaked out like insane mode, and she like activated Kushina mode and sped over there, almost freaking bashing Naruto in the head herself. For like letting them go so loose. And Naruto said he thought like the assistant could take care of it. I mean, if they want to install trust, they should, hire assistants that can do their damn job. And the assistant was distracted. Basically, that's what her excuse was. And Shikadai does end up confessing that he was the one who created the distraction so that they could both go down there. Because, otherwise they would just be led the rest of the way through the whole field trip. However, nothing really seems to have changed all that much besides that. However, that is unless you look very, deeply into the details of the insides of Boruto's backpack. Because something was in that container. So, where did that something go? I'll tell you where. Inside of Boruto's backpack. The one place where it could find salvation amongst all the chaos. And so, yeah, it would kind of just stay there at the time. Basically, the rest of the time, whenever Boruto would finally be able to wake up and be released, and after all the punishments and everything, after being grounded, back whenever, life was a little bit simpler, and, finally, he was no longer grounded, he would just be wondering, what has been going on, like? And then he would just look at his backpack. It almost seemed for a second there like there was a slight squirming inside of it. But Boruto could just chalk it up to his eyes playing tricks on him. But then again, the way of the ninja is the way of someone who doesn't take chances. Is what Boruto is thinking. Don't take chances. We gotta research here. And whenever he would look inside of his backpack, he would find some sort of silly putty. At least that's what he would think it looked like at first. And he would take the big glob out and lay it on his desk table thing. Like nightstand. He would just lay it down there and be inspecting it to look for any abnormalities. Whatever this was would be holding its time for whenever BORUTO was ready. It could sense that it was perfect compatibility. It's just there was time that was going to be needed to pass before the body could develop. Like, everything else was already perfect compatibility. It's just the body needed to develop now. And so, basically, just get thrown in the garbage. But that's whenever BORUTO, before it landed in the garbage, he would catch it and be like, what if Hinamari found it? And be like, that would be bad. So he'd be like, I better find my container on my own to contain this, whatever this is. Yes, that's right. It seems to be like something like an empty mason jar. Or something like the design of it would be like an empty mason jar. Like the Naruto world's equivalent of that. And he would just stick the big plop of goop in there and like seal it tight and put it somewhere where hopefully nobody would go looking. And the lid's pretty on tight, so Boruto felt safe. Boruto felt that was a lot safer than just putting it in the garbage. So yeah, now things are different. Toxin was inside of a freaking Naruto world equivalent of a mason jar, sealed straight up tight, barely able to move now, just barely. Can't even move enough to actually freely, free roam. And, the compressed space does allow for the oxygen thing to kind of dim down a little bit. So, less problems there, less problems in that department. And so, basically, Boruto would think he would wait for a special time whenever he would finally open the jar again. So, yeah, he would basically make a mental note to not forget about the jar. And he wouldn't, because, what else can you really think about whenever you feel like your father's betrayed you and your entire family? Over the years, whenever, basically Boruto would be like, as, he's like 12, and he's approaching his 13th birthday, he's going to go to the academy, but it just seems like his father doesn't give a shit. Like he's never around. So, Boruto would just feel like a pile of shit. Just like, not really wanting to talk. Not even with his best bud, Shikadai. And, so many things are happening, and with the Life X Foundation, things have been going at a very good pace with the entirety of the ninja world, or at least the entirety of the ninja world that accepts that they exist, which being Konoha. The sand and the lightning are still not really all that accepting. of the Life X Foundation. Which basically, just leaves Konoha as your sole, transport and, non-transport. Your sole connection. Basically, their sole connection, like the Land of Ashes' sole connection is the Land of Fire. And so, yeah, that would be a thing. That would basically be the extent of their connections, is the Land of Fire. And, the Land of Fire, their Hokage is a pretty nice dude. And, yeah, Naruto Uzumaki, the people of the Hidden Limestone Village, yeah, they praise him a lot because, he's been so lenient with a lot of things that they've been wanting to try. Because, a lot of things they've been wanting to try are really beneficial to the people of the Leaf Village. So, give and take, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. And Boruto can see this all over. Everybody's getting benefits from the Life X Foundation. The different buildings. Like, there's a main building, and then there would be, different smaller, work buildings. Just buildings that would be, chained together with the main building. So, kind of like support buildings that help you build from the ground up. And so, the main building, basically, the main Life X Foundation, scientific research building. That's basically what it's called. The Life X Foundation's scientific research building or facility. Yeah, facilities. Facilities sounds a little bit more high-tech. So, yeah. Basically, the main building is where all the smaller buildings would get their resources. And the smaller building can provide pretty much... The smaller buildings can pretty much provide for everyone that aren't already being provided by the main building. So yeah, basically not only branching out within the villages, but not only branching out to other villages, but branching out within another village that you already have your shit in. So, yeah, basically the Akira clan, those guys, they are working like racehorses, and they are getting so much benefits off of this. And so are Leaf Village, the Land of Fire, Konoha, the entire Land of Fire. So even the Fire Donyo is getting benefits off of this. The Fire Donyo, he's getting benefits off of this too. So he's like, yeah, let them stay. Let them keep on doing this. Naruto, I advise that you, heed my words and let them keep on doing their thing. Because, it's a big benefit for the Land of Fire. And I, as the Fire Donyo, basically say, these guys are awesome, let them stay around. And so, basically, the expansion of the Life X Foundation, basically it's become a village-wide phenomenon. Or more or less a land-wide phenomenon, because the entire Land of Fire is being struck by this. So it's an entire freaking countrywide phenomenon, is what the Life X Foundation is. They are an entire countrywide phenomenon, country to country, cross-country wide phenomenon, is what they've become, basically. They are growing exponentially in power. I can't even say that freaking word. So, yeah. Boruto just seeing all of this, he's happy for the people that are getting a better life out of it, but, you know, he's also like, this is kind of another reason why my dad's never around. So, he's happy for them, but at the same time, he's not so happy. And, he's starting to develop some depression. And, Hinata is indeed aware of this depression that is, going and going through Boruto. And he's just feeling massive waves of it every day. And it doesn't let up. Feeling like he's basically alone in the world. Like, no matter what his mother says, he's still gonna feel alone. And so, he's not just like, okay, we need to do something. Because I can't have this in our family. Like Naruto, we need to do something. And Naruto would be like, I wish I could do something, but I'm stuck so high up with paperwork, and especially like legal stuff concerning the Life X Foundation. Yeah, they're just growing so exponentially amongst the village, across villages, that they've gotten a following, kinda. Even the Blood Mist Village kinda wants in on this now. Those guys, the Mist Village. Land of Waves? Or Water? Or, them? They kinda want in on this too, so I'm having to sign even more paperwork just to finalize all of that with the, Hidden Limestone Village and the Land of Ash in general. Because, well, yeah, that's even more stuff to go around. Like, it's exploding, and the people from LifeX Foundation are telling me that once this is split, once the other village has some of this too, that the workload will basically be cut in half for me, because the other village will have to fill in for the workload. And I'm not really wishing anything bad on anybody, but I would be kind of glad to just do that. And so I'm thinking that that might be a good choice. If you're really wanting that's what you're wanting, then maybe that would be a good decision, to actually hand over some rights to the Blood Mist Village. And, well, Hinata's just like, well, then, that's good, because you finally need to hear me out on this. Hear me out what I'm trying to say to you, Naruto. And Naruto's like, that is? He's like, Hinata's like, smack. I was like, it's Boruto and his depression. And Naruto would be like, well, maybe family would be a good thing. So I guess we schedule something. Yeah, schedule something to get our son out of the lumps. Besides, he's gonna have a whole entire academy life ahead of him. So he would need to take off a lot of stress before he got any on top of him already that he doesn't really need. So yeah, we'll do that. Hinata is gonna be so happy. She's like 3. She'd love this. And so Boruto might actually be happy that we'd finally be spending time with each other. Maybe Ichiraku would be a good idea for part of our day. And Hinata would be like, yeah, I guess you do indeed love it there. Even though all the changes, you do indeed like it there. And, well, actually getting to know his father would be good. And, Hinori getting to know her father. So, a little bit getting to know, as in getting to know where you really like to eat. And maybe they could really like to eat there after having a meal. So yeah, that would be a good dinner plan, but now we have to plan out everything else. And Naruto would be like, oh boy. And then it would just be, it would be, just a few days before, Boruto actually goes and, starts the academy with his friend Shikadai and everybody else that he's soon to meet. Like getting new friends like Sarada and Mitsuki. Sarada is just a casual person who's casually around, so they haven't really begun to become friends yet. So it's just like, yeah, Sarada and Mitsuki, they'd be good friends to, go along with the whole thing instead of just Shikadai. But hey, the academy is going to be the academy no matter what. Basically, so yeah, it's a few days before that, and Boruto is really just stressing out because he still feels like his family is growing distant and distant apart, when really that couldn't be like less from the truth. They're trying to actually go really, really together. It's just they have to plan all in secret, or at least they want to like be a surprise for Boruto and Hinari. So yeah, basically Boruto finally just like deciding, okay, screw it, and he's just like, this jar has to be good for something. It's just a bunch of putty, and nothing I'll ever do is ever going to change who I am. I can always try to get better, maybe to impress him, but that will never amount to anything. This family is doomed to fail. Mom says I should at least be glad I have a family, because Dad never even knew his mother or his father until he was 16 years old. Yet, I still find it so hard to be happy with a family that's like this. Dad literally dropped Hinori's birthday cake on our 3rd birthday. So, yeah, it was a literal disaster that Mom had to clean up and, disinfect heavily. We could barely eat it without smelling the fumes. Hinori didn't seem to mind, though, as long as she got cake. That's it! I had it with this. This damn family. I've had it. I wish I could be more than this family. And fix this. Do something for once. Boruto would turn around, like spin his head around, as he would wonder, who the hell was that? Then he would actually begin to realize that sound came from the putty. Was it talking to him? And that's whenever it would almost begin to form a face. Boruto, that's your name. I'm Toxin. And we'll just have its hand out for like shake. And Boruto's like, what kind of creature are you? And Toxin will just be like, shh. Remember, you said you had it with this family. I'm here to help you. Maybe if you get strong through me, maybe then things will get better. And start to fix everything by getting a little bit lower ground than you originally had. There were deeper recesses than just the room you and your friend Shigadai found. And I can help you find those rooms. And even help you successfully pass through security. Almost like you're invisible completely to even the greatest of technology. They wouldn't even know you were there. All you would have to do is follow my directions. Aren't you excited? You can finally fix this. Fix what's been broken for far too long. And Boruto would be like, basically, since I forgot if I actually had them so, like, introduce themselves or not, be like, basically, well, first of all, before I can trust you, I need to know your name. And that would just be like, Toxin's the name. Fixing this little problem of yours is going to be my game. That is, if we can cooperate. Making a little hand gesture whenever it would say cooperate. And Boruto would be like, and what exactly are you, Toxin? Oh, that? I am a symbiote. Not just any regular symbiote, but the alien kind from the planet Clintar. Our home planet. The only place where we can really, actually, breathe in without severe discomfort and fear of death. It's just the harmful atmosphere. We need hosts in order to survive on other planets. They just aren't the same as Clintar. Nothing's the same as our home world. Trust me. You can trust me on that. Boruto. And Boruto would just be like, so you're a symbiote, but more an alien kind. So a parasite? Toxin would actually kind of get a little appalled, but be like, I am nothing like my father. He's more of a parasite than I am. I really don't have any wishes to hurt anyone if you don't want me to. However, I do require, something to produce a certain chemical. There's brains, there's chocolate, there's meat, yes. Meat, that's good. Meat is good. They produce the chemical that I need. So, I do indeed believe you fancy yourself some meat. And, Boruto's like, yeah, meat's good. So, and chocolate's a nice treat. Yeah, it's not bad. So I guess I can get around what you're saying, Toxin, as long as we don't have to eat anybody's brains. And Toxin would be like, that's alright. The amount of meat you would eat, and even the occasional chocolate piece, would be enough to satiate my hunger for quite some time until I became hungry again. That is, unless you want me eating your organs. And Boruto would be like, no. If this whole symbiosis thing is gonna work, no eating my organs. Or my brain. Or my anything. So, yeah. Deal? As long as you don't do any of that. Oh, and another thing, Toxin. Whatever work we're gonna be doing, the only people, if it actually comes down to that we're going to be killing, and like I said, if it actually comes down to that, are the bad guys. Are the bad guys, the crooks, the criminals, the scum of the earth. And Toxin is like, I can deal with that. Well, then again, if I eat them, you won't necessarily taste it too much. And you might even, seeing as this is a symbiotic relationship, you might even get used to it. And maybe even find it tasteful. Not exactly the greatest thing, but not exactly the worst. And Boruto's like, so wait, you can eat people? And he's just like, oh yeah, shh. Okay, so yeah, if you feel like eating them, seeing as I'm not exactly the most quiet person in the world, so cooking's a no-go, and I don't exactly know where to get chocolate without alerting anyone about us being gone. So, if indeed it comes to that, you can eat them so that you'll have your little dosage from their brain matter. And Toxin would be like, thank you very much, Boruto. You understand me so very well. And Boruto would be like, okay. And it'd be like, shh. And all of a sudden just like sink into Boruto's skin and he'd be like, whoa, that was actually not harmless at all. And Toxin's like, I'm not like my father, I already told you. He wouldn't be the only one to make it painful for the host. Our bonding process. Yes, and the fact that you can hear me inside your head isn't exactly something that's going to go away. And, well, that's more or less us helping each other. Remember, I told you I was going to help you figure out how to get in without them even knowing you were there. Well, in and out, considering their security measures have been improving. And Boruto would just be like, is it me, or you just seem like to have like a personal vendetta against these guys? And, well, Toxin would be like, well, I may not exactly like my father. My Gramps, however, many insane rants and raves he may have under his belt, over the years he has learned how to chill out a little bit. So I can deal with him far easier than I can deal with my father. And basically, Boruto would want to know, and Toxin would be like, his name is Venom. Uh, and I'm not exactly sure if they've claimed him or not. I know they sure as hell haven't claimed Toxin, because he usually tries to get as much out of his host as he can, and if he's still in a host's body, he is literally untouchable. Well, that is unless you have key access to his key weaknesses. Or weakness. Thanks a lot, Gramps. Boruto would be like, yeah, what are indeed the key weaknesses of, like, a symbiote? And, Boruto would just be like, so, yeah, what indeed are the key weaknesses of a symbiote? And Toxin would just be like, it's only you. This is in between you and me alone. Fire and sound. Specifically, high pitch sound. Very high pitch sound. High pitch frequencies, if you know what I mean. And, well, fire. Fire is very bad. However, I have a feeling with you around, you may indeed be able to help with this. I mean, the fire that you're able to produce is from this stuff I hear you call chakra. Yes, it's a lot easier to sit through than actual fire, made from other things. And it has indeed given me somewhat of a tolerance for actual, non-chakra made fire. So I guess you could say I'm giving a little bit of an antibody for one of my weaknesses. It's just sound is the problem. Damn high pitch frequency noises. And, Boruto would be like, I think I may know how to help, but it could be kinda risky. So, you plan on helping anytime soon? Because I don't want to get any closer to this building than I have to, unless you can help walk me through it. And Toxin would be like, oh yeah, right, yes. And basically Toxin would walk him straight through the complete foolproof way of getting in. And seeming like nothing at all is wrong. And, Boruto would have eventually, realized that the room that they went into is kind of boarded up. And that's whenever Toxin would say something about, oh, don't you worry your pretty little head. I think I got that covered. And just rips the door off. And, Boruto, I almost said Bakugo. Boruto was just like, whoa, Jesus Christ. It's like Sato the Sixth Path. Whoa, man. Like, warn me first? before you automatically get me enough adrenaline to just rip that door clean off its hinges, and Toxin would be like, "Oops, sorry, pumping you full of it so much within such a quick instance without actually telling you. I guess that would indeed cause some backlash. However, there's no time for that. We have to make do with what we can. What little time we do have." And then they would just go straight through there. And they would find a secret entrance through the floor and another secret entrance through the wall. I mean, not the wall, but the ceiling. Bleh. Through the ceiling. And basically, the entrance through, the other side of the wall is basically like just another exit out of the building. So, yeah, the ceiling and the, floor are the only two, special areas. This is... I hate this place. You really wouldn't have to carry a body all the way up there. As big as the entrance is, it would still be a difficult haul. So I think you would know where they would want to take the bodies. Down there, they would first, put the bodies up there, and then, whenever it was time for experimentation, haul them down there, using specific gear to give them an easier cling to, the environment, if you know what I mean. And Boruto would just be like, "Whoa, so you're really observant." So, the bodies would first be up there, and so this down here is where they would be hauled. Just gotta make sure that I don't alert anyone. And hopefully with you helping me, that won't be a problem. And Toxin would indeed say, "One good thing about coming from Carnage, you have yourself your own little, basic, thing." It's like, one good thing about coming from my father. Oh boy. Camouflage. And I can indeed help with the noise making that your body against this material would make by, just adding the right amount of pressure if needed. And so Boruto's like, "Camouflage? Oh, holy shit, I need to try that out. Anything else?" And then Toxin will just say, there is shape shifting." And Boruto would be like, "Well, what's better than being able to do what you just said we should do? Than to shapeshift to the size of a fly, and then we really wouldn't be suspected as long as we kept our little wing flappy noises down to a minimum, or at least not around too close to where anyone could spot us. And then go for the camouflage." And Toxin would just be like, "Bravo, bravo. Well, shapeshifting it is." And be like, just barely open the door and almost get squished by it, and Boruto would be like, "Ow." That kind of hurt a little. But I think I'm still okay. Never mind. So let's get through this. All like 500 of my eyes on both sides. Yeah, that's like 1,000 eyes, I think. I think. Hmm. So where indeed would your Gramps be if he was, in trouble of any sorts? And Toxin would be like, Venom. They would probably not want, to just be fooling around with the father of the Carnage symbiote. Or more or less, progenitor of the Carnage symbiote. And so, they would definitely go through a very secure passageway with a lot of obstacles to overcome, even in our small size. And, well, Boruto be like, well then, I think that place would be the key place to go. And Toxin would be like, you have a very keen eye, don't you, kid? But it's always the ones you don't suspect that are the ones that usually have the most secrets. Maybe one of these doors just simply leads to the other door. It's very crazy room design, but I'm not the one responsible for the creation of this place. They can blame it on themselves. And so they would actually go into the a little bit less secretive looking door while it was being opened, so they could just go straight through. And, stay quite smidgen away so that they don't make a lot of noise. And they would actually see someone being hauled out right now, and it would look like something was eating, like, their insides. And so, whenever they would fully, open up the bag and everything, they would see the gruesome sight. However, they would be trying to use some sort of, special, barrier jutsu to try to repel whatever entity it was. And whenever Boruto and Toxin would finally come out of the shadows, they would realize they're hurting Gramps. They're hurting him. That barrier jutsu isn't just any normal barrier. It's something meant to... No, the more he struggles, the more pain they're going to inflict on him. And Boruto would be like, yeah, that's not happening. You and me, buddy, we need to do this. If it's your Gramps, he's a lot less crazy than you. Basically, it's like, we need to do this as quick and fast as possible. And Toxin would be like, got it. Suit up time. And basically just be like, wow, I actually kind of like this. This is something new. Something amazing. But I have to stay on track. Hey, assholes. And the guys basically be like, wait, what the? Another one? And this one's... No, it can't be. None of them can be. They're only supposed to be given hosts if we choose the host for them first. And this one looks like a fully advanced host. Like perfect symbiosis. And it's like, because it is. Because I am. I am Toxin. And that over there's my Gramps. So yeah, gotta stop you there. Wind style. Wind scythe. And basically, all the guys would be sent flying. Everybody would basically be just been sent flying. Good. That's actually seemed to be a lot more powerful than the regular wind scythe. Symbiosis allowed me to become a lot more powerful with my jutsu. I was already working on some, trying to be the best I could be. Wait, that's right. Shit. What do I do with him? And Toxin inside of Boruto's body would just be like, we have to at least find out if he's alive first. And so, you know, Boruto as Toxin would be like, hey, you awake in there? Like, hey, you awake in there? And Venom would just be like, pop goes the weasel. And just like attack with several tendrils. And it would be like, it was a good plan. A very good plan. Make them think that you're one of us. But no. Fake identity and everything. You got right through. Eddie, you're a genius. Unbreakable. We are Venom. And, Boruto would just be like, yeah, he definitely seems like he's not in any, worry at all. And, Toxin would be like, wait, Eddie Brock got here? And got through all the security? Man, he must have been on a manhunt for his own symbiote. Yeah, turns out Gramps was bonded to Eddie. And Dad bonded to some guy named Cletus Cassidy. But he's, dead. Well, he's supposed to be dead. Basically, Eddie Brock is Venom. He would just be like, so, it's time now. You, who the hell do you think you are? And, Boruto as Toxin would be like, well, and then Toxin would just override it and be like, we are Toxin! And then just a manhandle by body slamming Venom onto the floor and being like, this is for your own good, Gramps. Well, you gotta be put on the shelf. Sorry, but this Eddie Brock guy is just a bad influence on you. He's all around just a freaking psycho. And, it would just be like, that. And Eddie Brock would be like, what the? Uh, uh, you, how did you do that? How would you just rip Venom off? And then all of a sudden, it would be like, enough talk. We are Toxin. We will make you pay. Now it's time. You are going to pay. Eddie Brock, meet your destiny at the hands of Toxin and Boruto Uzumaki. And, Eddie Brock would just basically be like, uh, uh, Boruto's Maki? And Toxin would be like, yeah, being transported through dimensions is kind of weird, isn't it? But it's probably been the best thing that's happened to me in a while. I do indeed have to admit, Boruto's fun. He's pretty, reliant as well. You know, he's let me do, he's said he's going to let me do a lot of things. Some rules, but I can live with that. It's just, you won't be able to live past this. Ugh. Like you said, Pop goes, and then Boruto and Toxin would both say it, the weasel. And then just be like, boom! And Eddie Brock would have just exploded his own head, like freaking blood spewing from everywhere, in every which direction. And, they would just take the jar that had venom inside of it. Yeah, so you may think it's weird that they took, like, the mason jar-like thing with them. But Boruto, that was more Boruto's thing. It was like an afterthought. So, an afterthought that Toxin actually liked that he had. Because now they have, Gramps, and Gramps can be kept safe until they can find a host that isn't absolutely nuts. So, yeah. Now they just need to find a host for, Gramps that isn't an absolute nutball. And, like, Boruto would just be like, yeah, I don't know many of my friends, if, like, at all, that would accept, you're the Gramps. He really does indeed seem unhinged. And if it takes being, the symbiote to someone who's not crazy to fix that, well then, I guess we'll just have to keep on looking. Yeah. So, I guess now is where we go. And that's whenever, the next day, whenever, you know, it would be the next morning, and Toxin would indeed be, in a little bit of a thing, like, still inside because of the whole bonding. And be like, I'm still here, just not, visibly anymore. Then technically that was both of us doing that. And I do indeed how we turn the tables on Eddie with that whole Pop goes the weasel. I've never felt more fun in my entire head in my entire life. That was fun. And so that's also why I'm glad that we brought Eddie with us. Something for me to munch on. And yes, that's what I was doing while you were asleep, so that's why you have that taste in your mouth. Don't worry, it will go away after a while. And so, yeah, basically, Boruto would be like, oh, well, I hope so. I would at least hope so, like, okay. Maybe this will kind of be like a rehabilitation for the symbiote. Stay away from the crazies, and maybe you won't be so crazy yourself. Maybe the influence would shower off a little. Venom could actually be stable for once. And, Toxin, it would just be like, the entire thing, it would basically be on, the Ninja World's equivalent of the news. The entire place just, they went straight in, like, these people went straight in, and then, like, this other person who apparently snuck straight in, and, they apparently duked it out while the workers just fled, saying, screw this shit, I am not going to willingly let myself get killed. And, like, the majority of the workers did sustain, like, the central damage from, like, a wind-style jutsu, which is weird considering the creature did not look like something that would use jutsu. It looked like something out of a horror movie. More like it. And apparently it was intelligent enough to know whenever, like, another member of its quote-unquote species, I guess, was being hurt. And so that's basically when everything would just be uncovered. The secret experiments. And so the funding would indeed be cut, but that wouldn't be anything, like, too much for Naruto. He could just tell him, like, hey, I'm gonna have to cut your funding. I already did a little bit of the paperwork. I'm finishing up on it right now. Your funding, you pretty much, like, half cut it down the drain. So if you need any support, you're gonna have to get it from people that would willingly work with, people that do that kind of crazy shit. I mean, we don't even know what those two things were. And one of them came from outside of your place. So, God, the freaking Sage of Six Paths knows whatever that was. Like crazy shit. Like, people are already coming up with names. So, yeah. And Boruto would be asked by several different people that, weren't being jerks to him, would indeed be asked, like, what do you think it should be called? And Boruto was like, well, actually, I've been having a name for quite some time. Just no one's went up and to ask me. I think Toxin's a good name. And, people would indeed think that, that's not too crazy of a thing. Because it did say something about it being Toxin or whatever, like, we are Toxin. And then the other thing was like, we are Venom or whatever the shit. And so, the whole thing about that, like, where did the black goop creature go? And, like, where is the red goop creature? Like, this just doesn't seem to add up. And so Boruto would basically just be like, they have no idea we're even there. Toxin, you were right. You're amazing. And Toxin just like, I don't think I ever said that to you while we were planning, but, well, I guess I do appreciate the compliment. And we'll basically, yeah, that whole thing. And Boruto's like, you think maybe later on tonight we could, do something to help clean up any of the recesses of Konoha? Like, even with all the technological advancements, there are still some pretty big scum. And if we get Toxin in a more positive light, people won't be so schizo over the whole entire thing. They would only have the black goop monster to worry about. And I think we can clear up Venom if we just get it stabilized and then get it with a stable-minded host. Yeah, if we do that, things should go a lot better. And Toxin's like, I like the way you think, Boruto. Yes, patrol sounds nice. You think this is a thing we should do normally? And Boruto's like, well, if that's the case, then I should train more. Like, a lot more. And Toxin's like, and I'll help your body acclimate to the changes that it will go under during the, more intense training regimen. And Boruto's like, so soreness and swollenness will be less of a factor? And Toxin will be like, yep. It would just be like, big thing. Like, training, so much more training. Like, Naruto would be like, well, he seems to be training a lot more. Is this how he deals with the stress? And, like being depressed and stuff? And Hinata's like, actually, I've seen him, and he does indeed say that he's been feeling happier. Though he has been requesting certain types of meat and chocolate more than usual. However, if I ever decline, he's not really that pouty. Well, he was that one time, but, well, I guess he just didn't feel like, fighting it anymore. And Naruto would be like, meat and chocolate. Well, those are interesting. They both have the chemical, that little brain chemical thing. Oh. If that's the case, that it's helping him in that way, then I don't see what the problem is. If he can feel better and still, maintain himself, not, loosen up at all. If he can manage to maintain himself while still going through with that, I say it should be just fine. And Hinata would be like, and that's just it. The training he's doing, I think it would tear a normal boy his age apart. Even Hinori seems to be catching on that normally training like this for someone his age, it would destroy them. But he seems to be so much gain in such little time of just doing this training. Training that would normally destroy someone his age. And Naruto's like, well then, let me watch him train, and I'll be the judge of that. And so Naruto watches, and, well, Boruto isn't ignorant of the fact that his father is watching. Due to Toxin, he was able to hear the entire conversation. And, knowing now about the whole liking of meat and chocolate so much, now it's just like, Toxin would just be like, well, it seems your father seems to pay attention to you a little bit more. See, what we're doing is working. And, Boruto would just be like, yeah, what we're doing is working. And whenever we finally get to our little job thing as you-know-who, things will be so much better. But that's just our little secret in between you and me. And, of course, they would have this conversation in their heads because they would have both noticed that Naruto was watching, so he was probably listening in on anything he could get. So they just have the conversation in their minds while he's doing the extreme training. And Naruto realizes just how extreme it is. Naruto's like, yeah, he could really hurt himself doing that. Uh, Boruto? And Boruto's like, yeah, Dad? And he's not even stopping, he's just keep on going. Yeah, Dad, what is it? I mean, if it's something about the whole training, I could understand if you guys were a little bit worried about what this might do to me, but really, I feel fine. And Naruto's like, and that's just the thing. You look fine too. I mean, this is insane. You haven't even sustained any tissue damage. Yet your workout whole thing is, wait, is this a schedule? And Boruto's like, yeah, I actually have several schedules. That's just my workout regimen one. And Naruto's like, you have a workout regimen schedule? And he's like, oh my god, how many things in your life have I been missing out on? I felt terrible. And Boruto just hearing that from his father and how genuine he sounded and how genuine he looked whenever saying that. And now he just looks really sad. And so Boruto's just like, Toxin, what do we do now? And Toxin's just like, well, now you know that he does legit care. So, maybe we try and improvise. And basically Boruto would just be like, improvise. Yeah, that's right, improvise. And improvise is... Yeah, I remember that's what improvise is. So, Dad, I think that I'm going to cut my schedule out early. Give myself some time to breathe. Can't just be doing this the whole time. I gotta give some time for me to, acclimate to everything. In order for everything to, get the gains, if you know what I mean. And Naruto would just be like, oh, man, he's so smart. Boruto, just how much have I been missing out of your and Hinamari's lives? You can tell me. I'll be fine. Trust me. I've fought really hard battles before. I think being handed the news, I won't be hit too hard. Not in the way you might be thinking, but in the way of, I can take the news, whatever it is. And Boruto's like, Dad, you have missed out on so much. Last time you actually paid a good amount of attention to me and Hinamari, basically, she didn't even have a number to her age, unless you call it, 0. And I was 8. And, it was just like, or somewhere around that number. And that was the last time it actually seemed like you cared. That is the news. And Naruto was just like, last time was when you were 8. Damn it. I really need to find out what to do. Okay, I guess we both need to clear our heads. Don't worry, things will be getting better. Soon, Boruto. Soon, all of everything will be getting better. And Boruto would actually subscribe yes to this opinion, and that would actually kind of surprise Naruto. It's just the whole thing is he's not subscribing it in the reason, Naruto is thinking. He's subscribing to it like things are gonna get better because he's gonna clean up this village. With Toxin by his side. And so, yeah. The whole big thing, you know, basically, they'd just be outside doing random shit and, just shooting the shit, you know, inside, Boruto's mind. And, Toxin would be like, talking with you is fun. However, I think you can sense that we're both a little hungry. And, you know, Boruto's thinking, well, my mom's a really good cook, so all we have to wait to do all we have to do is wait till 6 o'clock. That's usually whenever supper starts. And, freaking Toxin would kind of have like a little internal clock in its head and be like, well, 6 isn't too far by. I guess I can stave myself off by then, I guess I can wait. And, Boruto's like, man, Toxin, you're just a really good friend. And I hope that nothing ever happens to where you'd have to be taken away from me or anything like that. It would just be like, I hope nothing ever happens in the future to where you would have to be taken away from me. And again, there are the whole tuning exams coming up. You already know that we smashed the whole Genin thing. Now we have to worry about the tuning exams. Now that's gonna be for us, who we're gonna have to face. And Toxin will just be like, yes, the tuning exams will indeed be interesting. And if you guys know Naruto Boruto, the movie thing, you guys know where I'm going with this. Hinata and her Byakugan being able to see shit. Like the thing on Boruto's wrist. But this time Boruto's not going to be tempted to do all that shit. Because he already has his own power right inside here. He has his own way of doom. And he'd just be like, yeah, we're gonna crush that tuning exam. Those guys, they won't even know what hit them. And Toxin would be like, that's another thing I like about you. You have such an infectious, positive personality. It almost kills me inside. But it almost slays me in the right way, if you know what I mean. And then all of a sudden, they would have been talking for so long that not only would have Toxin forgot about its hunger, but it would finally be 6, and Hinata would be like, Boruto! And Boruto would be like, holy shit! And Toxin would say it at the same time and be like, holy shit! Like, your mother needs to chill. I can hear that all the way over here. And Boruto's like, I think that was the idea. And, they would just be going in. And Toxin would be reminded about its hunger and be like, okay, come on. And Boruto would be like, remember your manners. And Toxin would be like, fine. So, yeah. Technically, they wouldn't have one more member added to the Uzumaki family. Toxin. Because he was just gonna be there inside of Boruto because they bonded. And they kind of have like a straggler and Venom because he's just gonna be stuck in that jar. So yeah. Basically, as the days would go by, Shikadai would be wondering why Boruto's happy. Like he's glad that he's happy, he'd just be wondering why he's so happy. And Boruto would be like, I found something to be happy about. And little does he know this is going to be the same night where, like, the whole celebration is gonna happen. They're still not getting told. They're not gonna get told till Boruto, the results come in for like his whole tuning exam thing. That's whenever they'll be told. So yeah, Boruto still doesn't know, but basically that's what he would tell Shikadai. He would tell him he found his own way to make himself happy. Something that, he could feel and think that he had that, deep down inside was the reason that gave him. Sorry about that. Basically, after the whole tuning exams thing, basically, Naruto versus Shigaraki. During the whole thing, you'd be like, Shakujasen Jutsu. And normally, this would have gotten anybody, but it doesn't really get Boruto. But not for the same reasons as in the movie. This thing is because Symbiote literally advanced everything. So advanced enough to the point where it could just break out of the, Shadow Possession Jutsu. Like, if it was strong enough and the person casting the jutsu was weak enough, it could break out of the Shadow Possession. And that just so happened to be the case with Shikadai. Because Toxin would just come in like a thrash. Like a let me smash. Thrash. However, Hinata would indeed, since there was something below the surface, and Naruto would just be like, well, what is it? And Hinata would be like, huh? And she'd just be like, you remember the red monster and the black monster and the footage and everything. Basically, it would just be like, remember all of that? All over the news? And Naruto would be like, yeah, that's why I cut the funding to the place. And, like, he not just like, it's, it's something, it looks like the red monster, but it's almost like it's wrapped around and it seems to be comfortable and it almost like it's wired to our son's brain and everything. Like it's talking to him. Like it's always been talking to him ever since, you know, whatever happened happened. And basically Naruto would just see Boruto and like, it's not exactly like I'm not proud of you. It's like, it's not exactly like I'm not proud of you, but you've been keeping something from us. Something about that red monster. And Boruto would just be like, well, if we're going to get everything out of the way, first of all, it's not Red Monster. Its name is Toxin. So that's what it told me its name was. And hard enough to believe that it is, or may or not be. It's an alien. They're known as symbiotes, as the fact that their race likes to bond with others that they find as perfect hosts. It just so happens that that time I got my head banged up against the glass, turns out that glass container was containing toxin. And Naruto would just be like, so that glass that shattered whenever you hit your head, that was in there? And, like Boruto would just be like, yep, toxin is definitely in there. Or was definitely in there. However, toxin, like, more or less in the puddly, goopy form that it was, in from the very beginning, it slunk down into my backpack. I found it later on and put it in, a jar and sealed it up tight for one day whenever I might remember it for something important. And so, yeah. Basically, I've been told a couple different things. And Naruto's like, and does that mean that you're part of the reason that the red monster there, you were the red monster? And Boruto would be like, yes, but it's not the red monster, it's Toxin. And he's been a very good friend to me. Just like Shikadai before. Toxin's always been inside ever since we bonded. And, has always taken in my interest, best interest, rather than just taking in its own. That doesn't make it a parasite, that makes it a symbiote, like the species would insist. unlike its father. However, its Gramps is merely affected by the person who it bonded with. So, we think that as long as, it stays away from any crazies, and, we can basically detox, Toxin's Gramps, who he calls Venom. Basically, yeah, we can basically detox the crazy out of him. And, then all we have to do is find someone to be a host for Venom who isn't crazy so that we won't, that won't happen again. And Naruto would just be like, so, you did all of that as Toxin? And Boruto was like, yeah, you can punish me if you really want. It makes you feel better, if it makes you sleep better at night. Knowing that you're punishing me for doing something good for the world. They were hurting Venom. And Venom, so far as, noticed, wasn't really doing anything to hurt them. So, yeah, it's just senseless violence, for experimental, benefit. Which I don't believe in. This sort of artificial, stuff. Artificial, sort of benefits that involve the pain of another. And, well, Naruto would be like, well then, what do we do now? Basically, now the Boruto is already he's considered tuning, but it's kind of on a hiatus because of the big announcement about finally figuring out about who the red and black monsters were, even figuring out the name and identity of the person who was inside of the black monster, Eddie Brock, and apparently something about dimension jumping, which is how they got here. All the symbiotes that ended up here. Something to do with dimension jumping. And Toxin would be like, not exactly going to say that it's not true, but not exactly going to say that it is. Because Toxin really isn't sure itself. It's got that naivete. And, just not really knowing. And so, yeah. Basically, Boruto is basically going to be considered a tuning put on hold. For whenever they get everything, all of the stuff ironed out. Because apparently somehow, Eddie Brock pulled a DeLorean and he freaking buzzed out of there reverse dimension hopped. Not just dimension hopping, reverse dimension hopping. So he went all the way back to the dimension where he's from while all the commotion was going on. Well, they thought they killed Eddie Brock, but it was more or less an imprint of him, from what was left of the symbiote. So really, they just injured Toxin's grandpa. And so yeah, they would want to make sure that was true. And Venom would just be like, yeah, it sure does feel like I'm injured. It does feel like I'm injured. And, Naruto and Hinata, and even Hinari, being able to see the jaw where Venom is stuck in. Not necessarily able to get out, but not necessarily, too, in there to where, it's suffocated. It's more or less slowly dying off, but very slowly, seeing as the atmosphere of this version of Earth seems to be a lot more cleaner. And so, the process in which Venom would normally have died is a lot slower, like a hell of a lot slower. And the same thing would have been with Toxin. So they could have survived for quite some time, just as, their original states, but and that's the thing. They still would eventually face the inevitable threat of death. And, Boruto doesn't like that. So he's like, if it means that I can't even be a ninja anymore, whatever punishment you plan on giving me, I still want to be with Toxin. And besides, I don't even think you guys know how to rip out a symbiote. Basically, Naruto and Hinata would just be, giggling at this. And Hinari would be like, huh? And Boruto would be like, that's not funny. Neither me nor Toxin find that funny. So what's the deal? And they'd just be like, it's funny because you're, standing over here thinking that we're gonna punish you whenever really, if you did well in the Chunin exams, we were going to plan on making that the night in which we finally got shit back together. And Boruto's like, wait, you mean that, Dad? Is that why? Holy shit, I'm sorry about that. And Boruto's like, you're not the one who has to be apologizing. You're not the one who has to be apologizing right now, or should be apologizing right now. That should be me. So, yeah. I'm sorry I haven't been in your and Hinari's lives for that long. And even your mother. I'm taking my job way too serious over, my own family. Maybe I shouldn't have actually had a family if, the whole thing was going to take priority over you guys. And we'll just be like, well, in, records of people who I think it would be good for Venom, after its crazy detox, detoxing the crazy out of it, sane people to actually give Venom to. I'm starting to think that, well, I don't really know how to put this. But you really do seem to find, my friend Sasuke really cool, don't you, Boruto? And Toxin's like, oh, my partner's a fanboy. And, or Boruto would just be like, shut it, Toxin. And be like, yeah, I do like him. He is pretty cool. And Toxin would just be like, that boy. And just be like, Boruto would just be like, oh my god. Oh my sage of six paths. And Boruto would be like, so what does Sasuke have to deal with this? And, Sasuke would show up and be like, you, wrote? And Naruto would be like, I wanted you to be around here because of the possible, you know, thing having to do with, well, your own family and how your daughter and your wife feel. You know, it's constantly seeming like your daughter's in the middle of a freaking crisis, and, you know, with Sakura, you barely seem to pay attention to her. Maybe Venom here would be able to straighten you out. And also, symbiote to symbiote training, that would be something to really help you guys. And Sasuke would be like, are you sure about that? And Boruto would know that look. He'd be like, don't worry, the whole bonding process is painless. The only one who that's not true for is Toxin's father, who's Carnage, who's the son or progenitor of Venom over here. You know, Carnage is the only one who really makes it painful for his hosts. We don't even know where Carnage is anymore, so, or at all, so that's the thing. And, well, I mean, Boruto already has a freaking symbiote inside of him, and if what Toxin says is true, and, you know, it's the symbiote, so, and yeah, it's related to Venom, then it knows that, at least that much about Venom. So, Sasuke feels like, okay then, well, then, I guess, symbiote training wouldn't be that bad. I just hope that Venom isn't too much of a smartass. And, you know, Venom is like, you too. Like, yeah, that would be a thing. And, yeah, so basically, after the whole detoxing of the crazy, yeah, it basically is set up for there to be like an appointment, because Sakura is basically, along with Tsunade, like, some of the best medical help you're gonna get. So, like, if they were to want to do this safely, like a procedure, like, Boruto says that with him and Toxin, it was pretty much loose cannon. But, you know, Naruto and Sasuke are buddies, so he wouldn't want to hurt his best friend. And, you know, really, he wasn't awake to know that this was happening to his son. So, you know, if he was awake, you know, he would want to also make sure that it was an easier procedure. However, seeing as Toxin, if Boruto is telling the truth, and he is, you know, the process is painless. The whole thing, that whole deal. And so, basically, Sasuke would be like, will my Sharingan affect Venom at all? And Sakura would just be like, well, there's really no way to find out. Well, really, also, the Rinnegan is more or less connected to the Sharingan. And Sasuke would be like, and that's why I didn't say anything about the Rinnegan. Because, yes, like you said, it's basically a connection. So, you know, it's based off of it. You know, it's basically like, just wondering if it's actually going to, you know. And, well, basically, the whole container is open, and then the medical ninjutsu helps with safe passageway. And Venom is like, I think I know how to do this. You know, girlie, I think I already know how to do this. So many times. Just because Venom isn't insane anymore doesn't mean he can't be an asshole. And so he's basically like squeezes straight through there into Sasuke's chest. And, as this is going on, like Boruto is feeding feeding Sasuke some information on the do's and don'ts of symbiotes as far as he knows, like right now. And Sasuke is indeed listening. He's not gonna just blow Boruto off. He's the first one of them to get a symbiote, so logically he would know more, like he should know more. So basically, Sasuke would indeed know the do's and don'ts of, symbiotes. And, Venom is like, you don't bother me, I won't bother you. And, it's just like, Toxin is just like, I hated when mom and dad fight. And, Boruto would just be like, sheesh, your granddad must be a real stickler for, human interaction, considering you guys elect a symbiotic partnership. And Venom would just be like, whenever you scrap that stuff of Eddie from me, you also scrap stuff of the original one to have me, Peter Parker. I became obsessed with him, so I bet now you can at least try to understand how I feel having both of those scrubbed from me. Or at least it's not as easy to access now. I would at least like to have some sort of, good old days memories and shit. Something to help me ease me into this instead of just being thrown in willy-nilly. And, well, Boruto's like, we could help you. I mean, surely if Sasuke were to use his Sharingan, he could help you filter throughout all of, the mind that you used to have all to yourself. And maybe, just maybe, would just be like, that. And it turns out there are some memories of Peter in there. And then it turns out the more and more they look through, the more and more of Peter's memories, they just more or less seem to not necessarily been taken out, but more or less suppressed. In order for Eddie Brock to have influence. Something had to be suppressed, and that had to be like the memories of good times with Pete. And, basically Venom is like, thank you. Now I may be able to get along with this Sasuke better. I just... Damn it. And so, at least knowing that, Venom is going to try a little bit harder to, get through this whole process with Sasuke. And Sasuke is actually going to have some sort of leeway in order to actually be able to do this process at all. Actually be able to, set some things out. Some ground rules and all that shit. Venom pretty much already knows what are the do's and don'ts of human life. So, yeah, Venom is pretty much already very intelligent. So he's not nearly as much needed to be taught about things, though he does indeed find the life of the average Konoha, civilian or ninja to be very interesting, and he does want to learn a little bit more about that. Because, in the dimension where they came from, things are indeed a lot different. And the atmosphere not being as clean, that was also a little bit of a hectic monster to deal with. But with the atmosphere being cleaner here, it's a hell of a lot better than if it wasn't. And well, not Izuku. Basically, Venom would eventually get around to, dealing with Sasuke, and Sasuke the same way towards Venom. And, the more they were around each other, the less they wanted to, kill each other. Well, Venom was the only one who really had any idea about killing. Sasuke was just being his drifter self. But, that's just it. Here we are at the end of the Chunin exams, and at basically the start of the night, which would change everything. But, the whole training, Sasuke does indeed agree that anytime he stops by the village for just do something solo, he will indeed, go for a couple rounds of training with, Boruto. Because symbiote on symbiote, that's training, good old-fashioned training that would benefit them a lot. And because of this whole little schedule, Sarda would actually, have a little bit more of a favoritism towards Boruto. She would actually kind of like him. It would be kind of really evident that she had a thing for Boruto. It was just that, my dad has a symbiote, you have a symbiote, and you and my dad are good friends, and, all this, and you even train with him. So, yeah, she would, basically, yeah, Sarada would want the Boruto. And Mitsuki's whole thing with, being Orochimaru's son and the whole snake deal, yeah. But Orochimaru would indeed be okay with Mitsuki doing his whole thing. His own life. Just as long as he stayed close to Boruto. And, Boruto and Mitsuki would get to become friends, but it would be a lot less awkward and a lot less hostile. So, yeah. It would be a lot more chillax of a friendship. So Shikadai and Mitsuki would kind of be good friends for Boruto and Toxin, because Toxin is technically there too. And romantic interest, more like one-way romantic interest for the moment. I said for the moment, so don't panic. Just for the moment. One way. It's for the moment, it's just a one way. Might change, might not change, who knows? You got a wild card like me doing the things that I do. And so, basically, Boruto would be like, Toxin, and, basically, it would just be like, and like Boruto would be like, Toxin, and Toxin would be like, yeah, Boruto, and Boruto would be like, this is the best, and Toxin would be like, agreed, this is the best. You, me, Shikadai, Mitsuki, our own little friend group, and even that Sarada girl who, it's almost like she thinks we don't notice. Yeah, I don't know what a catastrophe that would be whenever she finally realizes we do notice. Uh, However, her mother and her father are both really good friends with your dad. So now that things are getting, back together finally, and well, your father really doesn't seem to have a problem with you going out every once in a while with you and me, and maybe then we can even make things more frequent. And, do it like you said, like a thing that's just a normal thing we do. We just have to ease our way into it. And, basically, Boruto would be like, man, Toxin, you're actually pretty smart yourself. And, well, yeah. Just the whole entire thing. And Mitsuki would be hearing this, and he would just be like, wait, so they actually go out on patrol from time to time. This is interesting. However, choose if I want to tell Orochimaru. Choose if I want to tell my father or not about that specific part. He's already on high surveillance as it is from everyone seems to be a part of Konoha. So I wouldn't want to ruffle much more of his feathers than already are. So, as per now, I'll take things up on my own. And it would be like, finally, we end this part, this first part of What If Boruto Had a Toxin Symbiote. Oh my god, this is gonna be a wild ride. Anyways, I'll take analysis go to the dark side. Remember, use OT, like, favorite, subscribe, and description shit. Bye.